I ask unanimous consent to call the quorum be terminated.
Without objection, and the majority leader is recognized.
Mr. President, the first thing we're going to talk about, I've had conversations the last few days, in fact, longer period of time than that, with Senators Vitter and Senator Coburn, Senator Johnson, Senator Shelby, and others on flood insurance. Like a lot of things that happen, this has become critical that we do something on flood insurance. It affects almost 6 million people, and we need to get something done on a more permanent basis. There's been a general agreement. We don't have it in writing yet, but I just want to make sure the record's clear here on the floor. What my intention is that we would have a 60-day short-term extension. In that extension, there would be language for a duration of 60 days that would include in that the second home subject as part of the underlying bill that Senator Coburn is focused on. That would be for 60 days. Then I would be happy to make a statement here on the floor today that during the next work period that we will move to that bill, the flood insurance bill, so that we would have the opportunity to make it permanent. It's very important we do that. It's with the economy being such as it is, we can't, in this area, and probably others, but this one, we can't have these short-term extensions. It doesn't allow people to do what they need to do. 40,000 homes a day go through a process where they have to have flood insurance. If there's no flood insurance, that's 40,000 loans every day that will not be approved. So Senators Johnson and Shelby have done good work to narrow down the list of amendments that we would have to consider when the Senate takes up this long-term flood insurance bill. It's my understanding there are a dozen or so amendments, 6, 8 on each side. And but I hope we can do that. If we can't do that, we're going to have to go to the bill anyway. And I want to make sure how I feel. I want to make sure that Senator Vitter, who's on the floor today, understands that that's my understanding of the things that he and I have talked about the last couple of weeks.
The senator from Louisiana.
Mr. President, I thank the distinguished majority leader very much for this important announcement and this plan, and it certainly meets.
Mr. President, it's my understanding that he was going to ask me a question because I don't want to lose the floor. Okay.
Yeah, I have no intention of his losing the floor. I just want to thank him for the announcement, and from my perspective, it meets the two main goals we've been in search of. First of all, making sure in the short term there's not a lapse of the program. That would be disastrous. That would cancel, as the majority leader suggested, thousands of good closings, really put a hiccup in the economy for no good reason. And in addition, get to a permanent bill in the next work period. So I appreciate the leader's announcement, and I would also note, as he did, that there's been great work and great progress in narrowing the field of relevant amendments. I certainly hope that leads to a limited and reasonable number of amendment votes, as he does on the floor. I understand what he said about if that becomes unwieldy, would just proceed with the bill as is, but certainly it's my expectation I'll continue to work on that amendment list so that we have a reasonable opportunity for relevant amendments.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
I'm glad the Republican leaders on the floor, we've worked very hard to arrive at this point where I'm going to ask this consent agreement. I appreciate everyone's help, and it takes everyone's help to get to where we are. That's why we call them unanimous consent agreements.